What's good, everybody? Chris here again. Chris Goes Outdoors. Two of the last videos that I posted were both essentially winter hikes. Technically it's still fall, but one of them was definitely below freezing and the other one was below zero. So the first one was an overnight trip we did up in the White Mountains. We did Square Ledge. It was probably in the mid-20s during the day, teens at night. And then the last video I posted was actually a sub-zero Thanksgiving Day hike. Temperatures were in the single digits down below and definitely below zero up top with extreme wind on the top of the actual mountain, which was Mount Kearsarge in southern New Hampshire, or southern middle-ish New Hampshire. And I got a lot of people asking about my winter gear, specifically what I bring, as well as my layering system. I have the gear right here that I actually carried with me on both of those hikes. It's extremely similar. The only thing that changed, I think, is the tent. And this is the actual gear I had with me on Thanksgiving, so haven't really emptied anything out of it. I would like to say before I get into all the bits and pieces, I am in no way advocating any of this gear. Take what you see here, do your own research as well, and just make the best informed decision that you can for you specifically. We'll start off with the actual backpack I'm currently using. This right here is the Granite Gear Crown VC60. I picked this up just a couple weeks ago. I've only used it 2 or 3 times. So far it's been alright, no major issues. It carries everything that I needed to, does pretty well. I took the Z-Packs hip belt pockets off of my Arc Haul and put them on here, as well as one of the shoulder pockets from that as well. But it's been doing pretty well. So on the outside pockets, I have a Joby Gorilla Pod. So this is specifically for video. It lets you kind of grasp onto things like tree branches and stuff. It's a little makeshift tripod, and it's got a little ball head right there so you can angle your camera where you need it to. Pop the camera right on top here. Most people would not have this, but I just want to show you everything I got in here. Hydro flask is usually not carried. I have 2 Nalgene's that I usually bring, but I wanted some coffee out here with me, so I replaced one of those Nalgene's with coffee hydro flask. In this pocket too, some people will use insulated water bottle holders. I typically, especially if it's like a day hike or an overnight, I'll try to fill my water bottles with hot water before I leave, and I will just put them in, this is a super thick wool sock. It's essentially a poor man's insulated water bottle parka. It works, kind of, I guess. Would an insulated parka for your water bottle probably work better? Sure, but if you don't want to spend the money on it, a super thick wool sock like this works pretty well. And I'll show you what that looks like all wrapped up. So this is one of the actual Nalgene's that I carry. And of course, in super cold weather, you do want to flip it over upside down, so that way when it starts to freeze, the water starts to freeze, it will freeze from the bottom of your actual water bottle holder, so that way you can still undo the top here and you can still drink. So you'll have frozen water on the bottom maybe, depending on how cold it is, and you can just flip it over, drink no problem. If I know I'm gonna be out for a long time too, I'll try not to fill them all the way, maybe fill them like that much. In the event that they do freeze solid, I can at least heat up some water at camp, pour them in here, and melt some of that ice away. But that works pretty well for me. On the hike, the sub-zero hike, they started freezing up a little bit just as we were walking down, so we were getting a little bit of ice chips in there. On the overnight that I just filmed, the Square Ledge one, I had no issues with them freezing at all, and I think that's because we were moving a lot. At the end of the day, it did get really cold, so it was like tough to drink, super cold. So again, I just poured some water in, heated it up on the stove, and good to go. On the side here, I also have an MSR fuel bottle, and this is for the stove, which is in the bag, which is the MSR Whisper Light. It is it's a liquid gas stove, so this is just liquid. I think they call it white gas, but I believe the Whisper Light, which I'll show you in a minute, can also run on like gasoline and diesel too, which is kind of crazy. But of course the white gas is cleaner burning. Works really well, and it's very reliable at really cold temperatures. I've never had this stuff freeze on me, and anytime I've used the MSR Whisper Light stove, it's always worked. So it's very reliable, at least in my experience. In the side pocket as well, I have a assortment of stakes. I have 6 of these at the moment. I might pick up another couple. These are REI snow stakes. They work well. I think they're aluminum, but they work really, really well for staking out in snow. So you can push them in either straight and they hold pretty well, or you can also bury them. So you could wrap a guy line around here, dig a little thing in the snow, bury it, put the snow back on top and kind of smush the snow down. When I used the Duomid on the square ledge trip, I was using these, and these things did not budge once they were like packed down really good. So had no issues with that tent slipping at all. And I also have a couple of these. These are just some DAC V stakes that came with the tent in here that we'll talk about in a moment too. I think the tent came with 10 or 12 of these. So on the outside here, I have a pair of pretty legit winter gloves. So these are Eastern Mountain Sports. I don't know the actual like model, but they say that they're filled with Primaloft insulation. Supposedly they were waterproof too. I don't typically use these too much, but they're there for like the extreme cold. And we'll talk about these more in the layering system that we'll go over shortly. A small first aid kit. So it's got, you know, KT tape, some pills, cold medicine, aspirin, Motrin, a couple bandages, some gauze, there's an extra lighter in there, anti-diarrhea pills, and a couple little repair things as well. So I got some super glue and repair tape in there too. It's in a little Cuban fiber stuff sack. Right here, since this backpack is not waterproof, I do have a liner in there, but as just an extra bonus, especially since I have so much electronics with filming, I also carry a pack cover, and this one is just an Osprey pack cover. I have a scoop. This is the scoop I used on the entire Appalachian Trail. I still got it. It's just a cut-off Sawyer bag. I use this if I'm getting water to put in my Nalgene, wherever that is, so I can scoop it out and pour it directly into the Nalgene without getting the rim around the Nalgene wet. And we'll talk about why that is also in a moment. We got some toilet paper, double ply or die. Right here, we got a little prison toothbrush and a little travel size toothpaste. Side pouch, number 1, a camera lens cleaning cloth. Side pouch, number 2, another lens cleaning cloth, but probably more comical, McDonald's trash. I know a lot of people talk about McDoubles and stuff, but we usually drop in McDonald's in the morning sometimes on the way up to the Whites. The sausage biscuits, I think, are around 450 calories. They cost $1, and even when they're frozen, as long as you have water, you can still eat them, and they essentially last forever. In the shoulder pocket up here, I have a 1, 2, 3 camera batteries, as well as extra SD cards just in case. This is kept in a Cuban stuff sack as well. Deuce of Spades trowel in case. Also have a little thing of sanitizer, a little thing of sunscreen. There's a compass, a little compass in here as well. It's a little mini body glide. That is it for the outside of the pack. So we'll go inside. Right off the top, right here this is the REI Storm Henge jacket. So this will be included in the layering system. I'll talk about that shortly, but it's technically down-filled. Supposedly it's waterproof. Right here is the super sexy, always fashionable, and you've probably seen it in the snow videos if you've been watching them. This is an Enlightened Equipment snow wrap, as they call it. Let's call it what it is. It's a skirt. It is a snow skirt. I purchased this as a custom piece, so they offer the off-the-shelf ones with a 2-ounce Apex insulation. I ended up opting for a 4-ounce Apex insulation, as it is slightly warmer. These are the Marmot Minimalist, I believe they're called, Minimalist Gore-Tex. I think they're technically rain pants. This is like the end-all be-all, like you need that extra warmth and wind protection. If these aren't saving me, I gotta get out of wherever I am. We'll discuss that more in the layering section. Food bag right here. Again, I carry a different stove in the winter. Canister fuel, especially up in New Hampshire, is less reliable. Sure, you can sleep with the can. Yeah, I get it, whatever. Same with alcohol. I just go with the gas, the liquid gas, and the MSR Whisper Light, but I just bring a slightly bigger pot, because if I do not, the Tokes one that I have, it's a 650 mil, it like can just balance on the MSR Whisper Light stove. I like having the bigger pot around compared to my little Toast guy. And then as far as food goes, I just try to bring stuff that, like, if it freezes, it won't be terrible. So I don't really bring any tuna or anything like that. Go ramen, potatoes, the backpacker pantry or Mountain House meals are always good. Candy bars that won't freeze and break your teeth. M&Ms, like peanut M&Ms, awesome. Those McDonald's sausage biscuits are great as well. We usually stop at Heavenly Donut on the way up, grab a couple extra donuts to throw in the bag. Again, even frozen, they're still pretty delicious. Right here, Z-Packs pillow dry bag, and this is where I keep my extra clothing. So this is bedtime clothing. This is the Patagonia Capilene Thermal Weight base layers. So I got the hooded version right here, top, and I also have the leggings. So that is bedtime clothing. You know, you want to change out of your sweaty, wet clothing so that way it does not freeze. So this is what I change into. It's like a ninja suit, essentially. I also keep an extra pair of glove liners in there. These are Eastern Mountain Sports. They came with those thicker gloves that I showed previously. I also keep an extra pair of super thick wool socks, which are nice to sleep in, keep your feet warm. And last but not least, I have that Trekology pillow still in here. Raincoat. I have been carrying the Outdoor Research Helium 2 coat. I'm not the biggest fan of this in the summer, but in the winter it doesn't matter because you kind of want to trap that heat anyway. In the summer, this thing is just a sweat box for me. So the MSR Whisper Light stove is my go-to stove, and you can check out the Square Ledge video where you can see that thing in action, but I'll just give you a quick look at it right here. So the bottle I showed earlier, this pump right here goes into the bottle, and then the stove connects to the pump right there, and it's a pretty sizable stove too, but super reliable. I've never had an issue with it. Hopefully, knock on head, I do not have an issue with it. Electronics we got right here in this little bag. I also fleece line it. The reason behind that is to try to keep them as warm as possible. I also bring hand warmers usually, and we'll drop one in here usually before I leave, like out on the trail, just to keep this all warm. The other option, of course, is to just keep anything you need electronically close to your body. That usually does a pretty good job as well. Got a little fleece hat in here just to kind of insulate it all. Just a little lightning cable. I have a Nightcore NU25 headlamp. This is the Lightsmith version with the little shock cord for the headband instead. Incredible headlamp. Rechargeable, I think it's 360 lumens or something at max brightness. It doesn't last very long at max brightness, but I have really enjoyed using this. Also got a Black Diamond Revolt. I use this on the Appalachian Trail. It doesn't really recharge batteries anymore, but whatever. I like having two headlamps just in the event one of them gets frozen or something. I'll keep this one in my pocket, get it warmed up, and then have one ready to go again. Also carry my little Anchor battery right here as well. It's a 13,000 milliamp hour battery and a little micro USB cable. And I keep this all in a Cuban fiber roll top stuff sack. When I talked earlier about using the scoop here to make sure that no water gets on the rim of the Nalgene, it's because for winter I use this thing. So this is a Sterapen, and I use this for filtration. The reason I use this is because the Sawyer filters, if they freeze up, they can get damaged and not work. Drops and stuff, especially if the water is super cold, I have read can take upwards of like 4 hours to like fully activate. Bleach was also another option, but I just figured I'll get this and pray it's actually functioning. All you do, hit the button. For 1 liter, you hit it once. For half a liter, I think you hit it twice. And you dip this in your container, so in my case, the Nalgene, and it activates this light, which is a UV light. And you just stir around. For 1 liter, it's 90 seconds. And a little timer will come up on here telling you to keep stirring, keep stirring. And what that UV light does is supposedly kills the dangerous bacteria and stuff in there. So supposedly it kills them. It doesn't remove them, but it like kills them, and apparently if you do actually drink them, it can't like replicate while it's inside you. And yeah, so this is my winter sterilization. Whenever I know I'm coming up on refilling water, so say I'm getting kind of low, I always take this out and I put it in one of the layers I'll show you, and I put it in the chest pocket so it's near me. The battery's nice and warm, so I know it's gonna work. And it's been pretty good. I haven't died yet, and I haven't been pooping my pants. This is actually in the stuff sack for my sleeping bag. This tent I have not actually shown in a video, and I've been back and forth about whether or not to even keep it, but I bought the Big Agnes Copper Spur Expedition version. So this thing's pretty heavy, relatively speaking. It's a 2-person, 4-season tent, and it weighs in trail weight with everything. So I think it's the stakes, you know, the tent fly, and the poles, weighs in around 5.5 pounds, I think. And some may say, that's crazy, but you can really batten this thing down. I like that it's like fully enclosed too. I really like the design of the Copper Spur, so the Expedition series just seemed kind of like a no-brainer to me, specifically for kind of when I'm hiking with my girlfriend or someone else that just doesn't feel like carrying a tent. We can split it too, and then it's only, you know, like 2.5, 3-ish pounds each. As far as solo trips where I know I'll be in my tent alone, I use the MLD, Mount Laurel Designs Duo Mid, which I used in the Square Ledge video. You can see it in action in that video. So that is a pyramid style tent, and I just use a ground sheet from another tent. I probably wouldn't use it for 2 people just because there's not enough room to keep your gear inside the tent as well. For me solo, it's a great tent, and it weighs, I think it's less than 1.5 pounds for the tent, the floor, and the stakes. So not too bad if you ask me. And then, excuse the crinkle of my pack liner, I believe this is the last, one of 2 of the last things in here. So I bought one of the Thermarest Neo Air X Therms, and this is the max version. So it's the regular size one, but it is the max. So instead of the mummy cut, it is a rectangular cut, which I actually much prefer in the winter because it gets thinner down the end if it's a mummy version, and the rectangular does not. So if it was the mummy version, I feel like my feet would end up kind of drifting off the sleeping pad a little bit and would probably get a little cold. So I do kind of dig that it's the rectangular version, the max. This came with a pump sack, so you could, in theory, carry the pad around in it and then hook it on here and roll it up and blow air into it. Not about that life. I just carry the pad itself, blow it up myself, not a problem. And then last but not least, we have here my sleeping bag of choice. This is the Nemo Sonic -20 degrees sleeping bag. I bought 2 of these actually. I bought one for me and for Anna. It's me waving goodbye to my money. But I have to admit, I slept in this in the Square Ledge video in the teens overnight. I had a wool shirt on underneath and this Melanzana fleece. I had a face mask on over my face up until like right in the morning. I slept the entire night in my boxers and no socks. And I was like toasty. I woke up sweating at one point up here. The difference between this in most bags that are rated this low, this one has a lot of room inside, which is kind of a double-edged sword in that there's more space that you need to heat up, so it's not necessarily as warm as other bags, but I love that I can move around in it. As someone that is coming from quilts where you have complete freedom, I'm essentially a rotisserie chicken sleeper. Like, I'm always turning, so it's nice to be able to, you know, turn around. At the moment, pretty glad that I went with the Nemo, but again, we'll continue testing that and see how it goes. I'm 6 feet tall and I went with the long. I bought a regular for Anna. Quite honestly, I could probably still fit in the regular. My idea with the long was I could keep, you know, my boots and stuff, or something that I wanted to try to keep warm overnight in here, but still have room in the actual sleeping bag as well. Zips up really good. It's got the little baffles at the zipper too, so keeps it pretty warm. It's got 850 fill power down. I think it's technically duck down. I don't think they use goose down. It's got a baffle up here to keep you warm, keep cold air from getting in. You can cinch down the hood really good. And it has these little, they call them thermogills on top. So supposedly you can unzip these and it will help get rid of some of the heat in the bag. So if you're getting too hot, you know, you can kind of vent out that way. I intend to put this through much more testing this winter up in the whites. So that is all the gear that I carry for winter hikes. As far as the clothing, I will make a layering video literally right after this, so make sure to check that out. I'll try to leave a link in the description. I don't recommend any of this gear. I have to tell you all. Take what you see here. If it's something that interests you, do more research. I cannot stress this enough. People, I think a lot of times take what we say on the internet as like the be all end all, and it's not. It really isn't. So make sure you do your own research and pick the gear that is right for you. If you value my opinion, awesome, I appreciate that, but make sure it's the right gear for you. With that said, I might put some links down in the description to most of this gear. Some of them will probably be affiliate links with Amazon, and I've said this in my recent videos in the description, but as much as I love people shopping through my affiliate links and me making a couple bucks off of it, take some time, maybe 24 hours, think about it. If you want to come back, pop through that affiliate link again, cool. If not, no hard feelings. It's all good. I would rather people look around too and, you know, find the best deal for them. Amazon might not be the best price. Maybe it's someone else. So shop around too. Try to find the best deal. Buy it used if you can. Anyways, I hope the video was helpful. This is the winter gear that I will be using. I will try to do some follow-up videos as well after the winter is over, but make sure to just watch the winter hiking videos and you'll see if something goes wrong with a piece of this. I will probably complain about it, I assure you. We'll get into the layering video. Check that video out next. I'll try to put a link up in the card there so you can click on that. And that's going to do it, everyone. Hope the video was helpful. If it was, drop it a like. If you loved it, consider commenting and subscribing. You can follow me on Instagram if you care to at Chris Goes Outdoors. Don't feel obligated. Social media, it's lame. Until next time, everyone, take care. We'll see you in the next one.